Ultimate General Gettysburg. Is it worth the buy, guys? Is it worth your money? Well, let's read about it, shall we? Ultimate General Gettysburg is a tactical battle simulator that allows you to lead thousands of soldiers in the famous Battle of Gettysburg as commander of either the Union or Confederate army. The game will feature the most accurately created map, complex morale, innovative control mechanics and smart AI. Notice the word will, guys. That's because it's early access. Yes, it's another one of them early access games that we all hate. But I'm going to tell you something, right? My stance on early access is this. If the developers are dedicated, if the developers mean business, if the developers are fair, I'm all for it. I mean, yeah, it's giving them the money that they need to feed themselves and live whilst creating the game that we want as the players. It's much better this way than having it in the hands of Electronic Arts, let's be honest, or some other publisher. How many games have we seen ruined by greedy publishers who just don't give the developers the lease of life they need to do the proper job on the game? So I'm all up for early access. Where early access fails is when you get greedy developers who don't put in the hours, who don't finish the game, who just take the money and run, and there's plenty of them around. But let's see how this one pans out. This is Ultimate General Gettysburg. Now before I go on with this, I want to tell you that I'm a veteran of Sid Meier's, or Sid Meier, or however you want to pronounce it, his Gettysburg from the 90s. It's one of the best games I've ever played. If we had Steam back then and it was on Steam, my hours would be in the thousands. Well into tens of thousands. I played that game for years, every night. There's nothing about that game I don't know. It is just one of the best strategy games I've ever played. And when I saw this, it was just, you know, I just saw this. This is like an updated version of that with better graphics, better AI, better everything. And I was just like, oh my goodness, buy it. So Gettysburg was one of the turning points of the American Civil War. It was the bloodiest battle of the American Civil War. It wasn't the biggest battle, but it was the bloodiest. And, you know, Pickett's charge in that battle was just a sight to see. I mean, I would have loved to have seen that. If I had a time machine, I'd go back in time to watch Pickett's charge. Wow. One of my ambitions is to go to the Gettysburg battleground and see a reenactment. That's on my bucket list, guys. But yeah. So, how does it play? How does the game play? Well, as you know, Gettysburg was over 3 days, the battle. And one of the problems with this game is you play each day separately as opposed to being able to just play the whole battle through one day after the other, as you could in Sid Meier's Gettysburg with an add-on, it has to be said. So what happens in this is you play the first day and you get the reinforcements as you would on the first day, and the Union, if you know about the Battle of Gettysburg, they had the cavalry to pick the ground for them, so they got the pick of the ground, and they are sitting on the good ground waiting for the rest of their army to come online. Now, the Confederates, they had a lot more men there before the Union, but they failed to take the hills and the good ground when they had the chance. And so it ended up with the battle being heavily in the favour of the Union, and the Confederates should never have attacked, but they did, and that's what cost them ultimately. So in this game, you can set the AI, which is fabulous, by the way. The AI is amazing, to whatever you want. I set it in my first playthrough to aggressive because I wanted them to come on to me a bit more, because I wanted the Confederates to win. I've always been a Confederate sympathiser. I didn't agree with their policy on slavery or anything like that, but I don't know, there was something romantic about the Confederates. Anyway, that's not what I'm here to talk about. So, the AI in this is fabulous. It's absolutely amazing. I've never seen AI as good as this for a long time. It is really a sight to behold, the AI in this. It's great. They act as they pretty much would act. They run when you think they would run. It still needs a bit of tweaking, but it is very good. So you control the brigades as they come online. You position them, and it's dead easy to position them. You just drag the flag to where you want them. You can tell them where to face, and you have your all historically accurate names of the brigade commanders and all that as they come in. And the the fighting is ferocious. You've got artillery, you've got skirmishers, you've got the really heavy brigades, and it really does make for an amazing strategic experience. And the map looked absolutely gorgeous. The only few problems I have with this, and bear in mind that it is early access, is at the end of the first day the whole game stops and you are told, hey look, do you want to attack the town, or do you want to try to flank them, or whatever? And then what it does is it repositions all your troops, and it's like, well, hang on, I didn't have them there, why would I want to do that? You know, and it's so much of an immersion breaker for me. I would much rather just say that is the end of day one. You know, have a few minutes to think about what you're going to do or whatever. Day 2 begins in 20 seconds. And then everything stays exactly where it is on the battlefield, but your new troops arrive, as they would in reality. But it doesn't do that, and it kind of sucks that it doesn't do that. Another thing that I have a few gripes with this game. It's a great game, don't get me wrong, but I have a few gripes with it. And one of them is that it's not really a simulation in that sense. I don't have anywhere near the control that I want over my troops. You can't oblique, for example, which is crucial in this type of warfare. I mean, one of the things that Sid Meier's Gettysburg did so well was you could control the troops at regimental level. So, for example, you might have a brigade which is comprised of 3 regiments. Now, you might have your 3 regiments in double line, alright? And that's another thing I'll come to, line formations. You might have 3 regiments in double line. Now, all of a sudden, some enemy soldiers might try to flank them. So what you could do, they might, let's say some enemies coming to you to flank your left flank, you can actually turn your far left regiment to face that enemy to kind of stop them from flanking your line. You can't in this. You have to turn the whole brigade, which is pathetic, to be honest with you. It's ridiculous that you can't actually turn to face part of your brigade. But hopefully, I can't believe that he won't fix that. I mean, it is early access, there's a lot more features coming, but that stood out like a sore thumb to me. When I was in a battle, I had a unit getting flanked and I couldn't do shit about it, because every time you turned, the whole bloody brigade turned, which just exposed the flank to the other soldiers. So it's pretty pathetic at the minute as far as that's concerned. Another thing is I can't change my formations. Why can't I change my formation from double line to single line? I mean, really? That's basic stuff that should be in there from the off. It's crucially important that you can do that in a battle. You don't want everything's double lined, and that's just not effective at all. If you were trying to, there was a part where I had one group of soldiers trying to defend a ridge, and I needed to make that line long, but I couldn't because they wouldn't go in single line, which... It's all these little things I'm hoping we'll get at it. I mean, I'm quite active on the forums, pumping all these suggestions forward to the developer. But it's things like that that a game, if you're going to have a simulation of this kind of 19th century warfare, you need these kind of commands available, because without them, you're going to get creamed. And that's what's kind of happening too, is I'm having to fight the battle in a way that I wouldn't fight it, simply to accommodate for the lack of control and command that I have over my troops. But that aside, it's a great little game, and it has really good prospects. It's not as good as Sid Meier's Gettysburg as it stands now. Sid's just pisses all over this from a great height, because it had so much more about it going on. It was much more of a simulation than this, but this isn't finished yet, and at the moment you can grab this for the amazing price of £5.99. That's right, guys, £5.99. That's all you have to pay to get this game, and it is worth every single penny. If the developer walked away now, it's worth £5.99. It really is, but he's not walking away now. He is actively updating this game, and he has suggestion forums open, and he wants to make this a brilliant game, and it could easily become better than Sid Meier's Gettysburg this. At the moment it isn't, but it's on track to becoming the best Civil War simulation ever made, if he just listens a bit more to what people are saying and just gives us that little bit more control, and maybe even throws in an option for the full 3 days. But I'm keeping an eye on this, and I will be revisiting this. This is Ultimate General Gettysburg, and it is definitely worth the buy. Oh, and one last thing, it isn't multiplayer yet, but multiplayer is coming into this from what I heard. See you later. Oh, you're pouring it in, Pettigrew. That's the style. We flanked the Union Army here, guys.